Cool. Well, guys, we have today, we've got sitting down with my good buddy and friend, Mike Fogle. Mike has I've known Mike for, 20 plus years. We met, what was it? Crestwood Baptist?
Yeah. I was probably in high school and you were in college, or was it weird where I was just out of college?
How old are you?
I'm 45.
I'm 46. So maybe I was just, I don't know. Maybe
I think I think you had just gotten married and I had just gotten out of college, maybe.
Gotcha.
It took me a while to get out of college.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of on the 5-year plan myself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, great guy. We've been around each other for many years. And, actually Mike was the realtor that helped me, as far as the acquisition of this commercial property here in Norton Commons, where we're recording this podcast. So, that was a fun project, but really, I just wanted to take some time to catch up with you. I'm starting this podcast. You're my second recording. Right?
Wow.
So, second recording, I had Sam Stone here a couple of weeks ago. We were talking real estate, talking taxes, but it's funny because Cameron asked me, he's like, well, what do you want to name your podcast? And I'm like, I don't know. And, so anyways, we landed on The Serial Entrepreneur.
Okay.
Is the podcast. And that's just because I've got more businesses than I can count. And, so really I want to sit down, with people that, you've always, and I appreciate you've always been such a great supporter of my businesses. You've been a great mouthpiece for us on the tax side, referring us a lot of realtors over that need tax help. So I've always been very appreciative of that. And then, obviously you've been with me as well on the trade line side. We've been selling your trade line for years. So We'll talk a little bit about that, but really, I wanted to kind of get started just, cause honestly, I've never heard the story, but tell me how did you get started in real estate? How long you been in real estate? What prompted that for you?
Sure. So it's kind of a typical entrepreneurial story where I started with a failure and ended up going down a different path. A couple of failures, but
tell us about the failures. I want to.
Yeah, they're good. They're good ones.
Well, they typically are.
But I kind of look at those as like grad school. Like I really look at that as not a failed business or a failed whatever. I feel like that's part of my education. And
it's a learning opportunity. For sure.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without those failed businesses, and one was a failed career. But I got out of college, and my first job, I worked for the Green Roses from church. Bob Greenrose, Rob Greenrose, Misty Greenrose. I don't know if you remember.
I didn't know them. Yeah,
they're great people, and they had a business where they sold anything you can think of to do with the basement of a home. So rebar, the columns in your basement, the I-beams. The tools it would take to lay the concrete, the wire mesh, maybe you were putting in the floor of your concrete, just anything to do with that. And Bob and Rob taught me a lot about how loads transfer in a house all the way down to the footers.
Okay.
So, I learned all about, reading blueprints, load distributions in a house, and, it was really interesting, and I had a lot of fun. They taught me how to do that. And my job was I'd go into this neighborhood and other ones just like it, and I would pull up to a job site and I'd speak to the builder, go over his plans, look at his where his beams and his columns were, and talk to him about, his, being a supplier for them. And, the lowest bid wins.
Right.
Okay.
That.
It's a steel beam. The lowest bid. So we weren't always the lowest bid. Building relationships.
So you would just show up on site.
Yeah.
You'd find a new construction.
Yeah.
Show up on site, find out who the builder is, and just try to win their business.
Yeah, and so I would literally just follow muddy trails. Like if there was a muddy trail on Highway 22, I would follow it into a job site. But I
love that.
Yeah. So but I would also, I had a trailer, and I would also try to sell all the hand tools to the guys working, like floats and trowels, tape measures, the stuff to bend and cut rebar. I had it all with me, and I would sell it to those guys.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're selling all the supplies, all the tools, all the materials that it takes to finish to construct out a basement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the sidewalks, all that.
So what happened with that?
Well, gas was like $5.25 a gallon then.
Okay.
And so it just didn't work for them. It didn't work for them. Like I wasn't bringing enough money to offset my salary and the commission and the gasoline.
Okay.
And it didn't work for them. So they had to let me go. But when I was doing that, I remember one day working with a second generation builder, like showing him where he had his columns and his beams on his blueprints. I'm like, look right here, you have these. Like you needed. He's like, oh, like he didn't know. Like he didn't know he needed that. He just depended on the lumber sales guy, I guess, to supply that, and he depended on his subs. I'm like, so I knew, like I was very confident that I knew enough to do what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
And so I got a set of prints from Ron Funk, Ron.
Yeah, no, Ron.
Yeah, so I got a set of prints from him, and the next day I started Protege Properties. I started a home building business.
Okay. Okay.
So
Awesome.
so I did that, and I built a spec home, and I went to Ron. I was like, hey, you know what we should do? We should get our real estate license. We can build and sell and this and that. So we went to real estate school together, and we've got our real estate license. And I think we started in 06. So this is 19 years. And that's the
So now Ron Funk had a business called like Woodfield Homes. Wasn't
he just sold it. Yeah.
Okay. He just sold it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the name of your business again?
Protege Properties. He was my mentor at Protege Properties.
Protege Properties. Okay. So, but he'd already had Woodfield Homes at that point.
Yeah. I started working for him in high school.
Okay.
So I was like, I think I did some light framing, installed a few windows, I was a pretty big kid, pretty strong kid. So
yeah,
everyone at church wanted me to do their manual labor.
Yeah.
So he was one of them. I did landscaping for various people, at our church. Yeah. So.
Got it. So you built a spec home.
Yeah.
So you built a spec home. How did that project turn out? Because you said you had two business fails. I'm assuming that this was your second.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Green Rose was my first fail. That was, I think I did that to the best of my abilities, and I would think the Green Roses did too. Like they didn't replace me with someone else.
Yeah.
They just thought we were going to try this out, and
yeah, it's a trial basis. And see if
and
it
it didn't
works.
work out, and that's fine. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
I still think a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it was, I think we broke ground in 06, maybe 05, and finished up in 06, 07, the spec home. And then that's about the time the economy started tanking.
Yeah.
So, at first I had it priced really high, I'm like, I'm going to make a lot of money and price this thing high. And the economy, I've got my price here and the economy's doing this. And it just, it just never sold. So I rented it out. And then I ended up buying another house to live in. And then I met Megan, and we were getting married. And that's, that right in the midst of the economic,
crash,
disaster. Yeah, crash. We were getting married in that. And so I had gotten a no doc loan in my first home. The one I didn't build, the one I just bought.
No doc loan. Tell me what
a no doc loan with back in the day is what caused the crash. Really,
okay,
it's
gotcha.
part of what caused the crash. You
had to provide no
documents, no proof of income. They just wanted to like check my pulse and give me a loan.
Sure you could breathe.
I had so my payments on that house were more than I could afford. But anyways, I met Megan, and at that time I had two houses, which she was very impressed with. That helped me out. So
it helped you out.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I had the two houses, and one of them was an old historic home in LaGrange on Birch Avenue in the courts. It was a Dutch colonial. It was cute. We fixed it up some. And then the other one was in Henry County, the one I built. The theory was that Jefferson County had pushed into Oldham County. Oldham County was getting so expensive that Henry County was going to be the next Oldham County. And, that idea was probably premature.
Yeah, because we're still, that was 19 years ago, and I wouldn't say that Henry County is the next Oldham County.
It's not.
Yeah, still 19 years later, right? It's a good thought.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the guy who who did the subdivision, the president of the Home Builders Association, a very smart guy. So I'm like, surround myself with smart people. Just, I just went with him. And I think that neighborhood is just now full. Like in the last 18 months, it just now got full.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many homes are in that neighborhood? Do you know?
I don't remember.
Yeah. So you started with a spec home. Tell me a little bit about the financials behind it. So your goal with this spec home was what was your capital investment? What were you thinking that you might make on it, assuming the market didn't drop?
So I think my dad co-signed for the loan for me for that.
Okay.
And I don't think there was any money down on that.
Okay.
Because the equity you have in the venture is the sweat equity.
Yeah.
So you can build them for a percentage less than. So I don't think they really needed anything out of me. But he backed me financially. I think he co-signed for the loan.
How much did it cost you to build the house?
I don't know, $2.25, $2.35.
$2.25, $2.35.
Yeah.
And you said you were overpriced.
I think I wanted like, maybe it was the 190. I was in it, but I think I put it up for 289.
289. Okay.
Yeah. And I think I had offers and this and that, but
so you're trying to make about $100,000 on a new construction
50, 60,
build.
80. I don't remember what it was, but yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 100. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I was trying to hit a pretty good lick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the economy went down. I ended up putting renters in there, 2 different renters. One of them trashed it. One of them didn't. But the second renter, circling back to the economy crashing and the no doc loan and everything.
Yeah.
So they went from, no documents and I'll give you a loan to the complete polar opposite.
Yeah.
As far as like, you got to have like this huge income and we want all the documents. So, just not anyone's getting a loan. And like they wouldn't give me a loan. Like I couldn't get a loan at that point. So we were looking at an apartment. I'd owned 2 houses. I had sold one, took a little bit of a loss on it. And then I had this other house with these renters in it. Like 3 days before we were to get married, we didn't have a place to live. And this guy was like, I'm breaking my lease. I'm moving out of here. I don't care what you do or find me or whatever. The tenant says this to me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. No problem. Just move out. And then we moved in.
To the spec home?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our first house was like this great, like almost comparable to the house I live in now. It's just further out. It's a big 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house with a finished basement on an acre.
Yeah.
Way out in the country though. But we lived there up until we moved to Springhurst 12 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then tell me how, the real estate market is plummeting at this point.
Right.
Some markets more so than others, I guess.
Not as bad here.
Not as bad here as maybe in Florida. I know, right. I remember, I'll never forget, like we have my wife's family bought a condo in 2009 in Florida. And I think they paid like $385,000 for this condo, and now it's worth about $900,000. But it originally sold for over $900,000 pre-market crash.
Oh, okay.
So they got in at the right time, and it's done very well since that. But I would have hated to have been that first person to
the $600,000 loss.
Yeah, to have bought it at $900,000. Yeah. So all right. So your spec home business.
Yeah, and that I didn't like that. I found out that wasn't for me. Like
how long did it take you to build the home?
I did it pretty good. I think 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
So really for you starting out, to go for a $60,000, $80,000 or $100,000 profit.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
For whatever the number was. Yeah. I don't think that's terribly unrealistic as far as what most builders expect to pull from a new construction, right?
It's not. But hindsight, like I needed that sell more than I realized I needed it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like instead of taking like a 20 or 25% profit, if I would have taken a 15 or 12.5% profit just to get the things going,
yes,
that probably would have been better. But it really worked out perfectly. The house was 12 miles. Megan got a job in Shelbyville. This house was 12 miles from her job in Shelbyville.
Okay.
you know, it's from that standpoint, it worked out perfectly. You know,
So God was ahead of you,
Yeah,
orchestrating these failures and these learning opportunities. I mean, that's again, that's the greatest education that you could ever get. I mean, you know, really, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's like, you know, not that I'm against college. I mean, I went to college, I graduated from U of L with a business degree, but I've learned way more in life.
Yeah, right.
And in business and just failures and learning from my stupidity and my mistakes over the years than I ever learned in college. And, you know, and I'm of the opinion, unless you're going to be like a doctor or an engineer or some specialty that requires a degree, you know, I think money's better spent, you know, starting a business or you know, learning things the hard way. You know, but
you like the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, I like the school of hard knocks.
I've done both of them.
So now how did you pivot from those first two failures into real estate?
Well, just like I said, Ron and I went and got a real estate license together.
Okay.
And I have a couple degrees from Western Kentucky, marketing and management.
Okay.
So, and then I have all this knowledge from Green Rose and the fact that I've built this house. You put all that together, and I'm pretty unique as a realtor.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a competitive advantage there over most. And, you know, I just felt like that this was something I was really good at, and that, you know, people were best served by using me. I mean, that was not like, I kind of have that mindset when if I get reluctant of making like calls and, you know, following up and like, you know, I'm like, you know, not wanting to try to pursue new business. Like,
you're not prospecting. You're not picking up the phone.
You know, that's not the funnest thing in the world to do.
No, it's not at all.
So, but I just try to have the mindset like, well, I need to do this because people are really better off if they're using me.
Yeah,
like
that's great.
You know, so I try to have that mindset when I do that. But you know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. So, and I love that because that was kind of like transitioning to my next question. I mean, everywhere you turn, I mean, let's be honest, there's a realtor. And, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how many realtors I know. And, you know, a lot of realtors are what I would consider kind of part-time realtors. They're selling a home here or there. But, you know, I was going to, you know, ask you, like, when you got started, you know, what did you do? What did you do early on in your career as a realtor to differentiate yourself from other realtors? Like, how did you get started? How did you get your first client? What were you doing?
My first client waited for me to get my real estate license.
Wow.
And they were a referral to someone I'd never met before. It was my buddy's sister.
Okay.
And they waited for me to get my real estate license before they bought a house.
So you represented them on the buying side. Okay.
Yeah. So that's that's kind of the progression of my business. I spent the first 5 years or so helping people buy their first place.
Okay.
And I'd say my average price was like $135, $140.
Okay.
And you know, that's just what I did. I had a lot of friends. I'm pretty well known around here. That's kind of an arrogant statement, but I've lived here my whole life, so I have that advantage.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I just knew enough people to have, you know, the contacts for people to call me and do that. And then business really started going well when I was doing first time home sellers and second time home buyers.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I really, you know, thrived in my industry. I was really good at lining up people moving because they outgrown their houses.
Yeah.
They're selling their first house, or they want to be in this school district or closer to mom. And I joke that I specialize in moving yuppies from one end of town to the other.
Okay.
And so the difficulties with this market in that business is that you shouldn't be moving right now. Most people our age are in a 4-bedroom, or our friend group. We have basically a very overlapping friend group. You know, they're in a 4-bed, 3-bath house. It maybe not be perfect for them, but it's getting it done, and they're in a 3% interest rate. Yeah. And you look at moving up or getting a place with a pool and all that, it doesn't make a lot of sense financially. So I've talked people out of moving I talked myself out of $2 million in business last week. Someone that wanted to sell their $800,000 house and buy a $1.2 million house because it had a pool and a bigger yard. It's like, here's what you're doing. I'm like, you're going to have kids in college in 4 years. You're going to have college tuition. You're going to start all over on a 30-year mortgage. You know, your interest rate's going to go from 3% to 6%. So you really have to look at, should I be moving right now? And the people who should be moving are people who are downsizing. People who have 50% equity in their house really should be real estate investors right now. They really should pull that equity out and start investing. Even if the interest rate's 7% or whatever, if you can find a property to make it work with 7%, it's going to serve you very well from an investment standpoint.
So let's talk more about that, because, you know, I mean, you've created a few different searches for me over the years to try and help me find an investment property. And be honest with you, like I really struggled finding a real estate investment that I was comfortable with, that I wanted, because I wanted a real estate investment that would cash flow and appreciate.
Yeah, everyone does.
Yeah. And so, but those are not always easy to find. It seemed like most properties that I was looking at is if you put 20% down and you financed 80%, and then you cover your property taxes and insurance and stuff like that, and you find a renter, you're about breaking even, is what my experience was. So what do you look for? How do you help your real estate investors find the right property?
Well, I think a lot of people, and this might even be in your case, are casting too wide of a net.
Okay.
They don't know exactly what they want. They just, like what you just said, I wanted something that I could put 20% down in cash flow.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a trailer park, which is good. Those are actually really good investments.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of great things about owning trailer parks.
Yeah. You just rent the land and the people unclog their own toilets.
Yeah.
So, that's a wide net, but like where you ended up on is this building, which is a perfect fit for you. It's close to your house. It's something to an extent.
Well, something that I use every day for my businesses. And ultimately that's kind of why I ended up landing here and now we have, we've got the podcast studio, we've got, the Airbnb upstairs, we've got the co-working space on the first floor here in this building. But basically the way I looked at it is we've got 3 separate business units inside of this building, all that have opportunities for creating revenue and generating revenue. But to say all of that, this was a pretty hefty investment.
For sure.
I mean, it required a $300,000 down payment.
Yeah.
We've got probably $150,000, about $175,000 of furnishings.
It's believable.
First and second floor, with the podcast studio, counting that as well. And, and I've owned the building since April of 24.
Okay.
So what is that? 16 months, something like that. And July of 25 was the first month that we actually had enough income coming in to pay all the bills.
Hey.
So I mean, I don't know if that's typical or not, but
this is not typical. What you're doing is not typical at all. Well, I mean, because you have staff and everything, right?
I don't have any staff at this point. I mean, we have contractors that clean and do stuff, but I don't have any like full-time staff. Yeah,
no, that is not typical. But I think it's the complexity of what you're doing is why you're looking at those numbers.
So most people, for those people that you're saying like, hey, probably not a great idea to go from an $800,000 house to a $1.2 million house at this stage, given your interest rate, given where rates are at now, the fact that you've got some additional expenses on the horizon with college and things like that. That makes a lot of sense. And I really appreciate that about you, and the fact that you've always been like, honest and transparent. You're not, you could tell that you're not just out to make a buck. You're not out to, you're not looking at dollar signs on what's the commission on $2 million and thinking about, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's, we can find you a $1.2 million house. I'd love to list this thing. Yeah. Instead, you're coaching them. You're coaching them on, the state of the real estate market and the environment that we're in now versus when they bought their previous home. And that's, that speaks a lot to your character.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And I appreciate that very much about you. And that kind of makes me, as far as, for me, and I'd be curious to get your feedback, because I know you're a man of faith. And I would like to understand, like, how do you try to incorporate your faith into your business? How does that intersect? How does that cross over into, is it just simply like what I said? You're just being forthright and honest with everyone, or what's that look like for you?
Well, it's a huge part of my business. I kind of want to circle back to that client who was trying to make the $200,000 in real estate stuff. What he should do exactly, you probably know, I know you know this guy. You might know who I'm talking about. What he should, he's going to have a kid in college in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
When his last kid is out of college, or when his house is too big for what he needs, that's when he should sell that house and move. But in the immediate future, what I would be doing if I were him is that kid, when she goes to college, she's going to be in a dorm, and then she's going to be a renter. He's going to be paying someone else's mortgage. If he buys that kid's college home right now in one of the 2 big college cities, Louisville or Lexington here, highly likely she's going to end up one of those schools. And if she doesn't, he can always sell that house, do a 1031 tax exchange, buy a house in the community she's going to college in, right? Okay. You do that now. One, you lock in the prices. You lock in today's prices, because 5 years from now, the price is probably going to increase in rent and the price of the real estate. And you're paying down that debt already. So when she gets to the point where she's ready to rent a house in that college town, you've already got it there waiting for her. And one, you can pay her to manage that. And then that, instead of just giving her money for food or whatever, you can pay her as a manager, and that becomes a tax write-off for you. Mm-hmm. And then, she can start, renting it out to her little friends, and, she lives there for free, and all the other little friends pay for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what people like you and I should be doing, immediately, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because, like I said, your mindset there is you're looking for an investment property that's multifunctional. And what I mean by that is you see a need that's upcoming, which in this case is you've got one going off to school that's going to need a place to live and a place to stay.
Right.
And instead of paying, for dorms or paying for student housing to someone else,
right,
you're gonna go ahead and snatch up the property, and allow your son or daughter to use that property, and then to bring in their buddies and have everyone pitch in to cover the rent, cover the mortgage. And so it's an asset that's appreciating and growing in value, and it's providing housing for someone in your family, and it's hopefully cash flowing a little bit, or at least, covering all the expenses.
Yeah. If it's not cash flowing, even if it's losing money, you probably might even come out ahead.
Yeah.
I know a guy who's on his 3rd kid at he's got his 2nd kid at Western Kentucky University, and another one maybe on the way. And he's been paying rent for like the last 8 years in the same little college town. He's like, I really want to do this and that. It's like, you should have done it, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like buying an investment property is a lot like planting a tree. The best time's 20 years ago. The second best time's like right now. Yeah. And if you can make the numbers work with the rates they are away, the rates, today's rates and today's prices, why not?
Yeah. as far as I'm not haven't kept up with rates as of late, but how are rates right now?
I think my rate on the projects I got going on is like 7.5, and it's tough.
7.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in our low we were at
2.9.
2.5, 2 point. Yeah, 2. I think I had a mortgage at 2.625 at one point. You know, but so let's talk a little bit about your latest project. So you bought some land in the Red River Gorge area.
Yeah.
You've got some experience in that market already,
Right.
with the first cabin that you bought there. I guess you call it a cabin, right?
Yeah, it's a cabin for sure. It's
Yeah.
a log cabin. It could be more of a cabin. It's made out of trees.
Made out of trees. Okay, so talk about before you talk about that project. How did you land your first investment property in the Gorge area, and how's that doing for you?
So you asked earlier about my faith and how I incorporate that into my business. So
Yeah.
I'd have to back up a little bit more to get to that.
Okay, well,
Red
let's
River
hear it.
Gorge story.
Back up, and give it to me.
Evelyn, my second born, she's like 2 or 3 years old. Megan was a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, Megan, I think you can keep staying home if we had a few Airbnb properties.
Okay.
Like this was 2016, 2017.
Okay.
I was like, I started researching, the Churchill Downs area.
Okay.
And
Yep.
everyone thought I was an idiot. Like
Okay.
they're like, that is such a bad neighborhood. Why are you doing that? Like no one's going to want to stay there. I'm like, well, we'll see,
We'll see.
So you can get on the Airbnb app and pull up just like any other home search app and pull up a map and see what houses are doing. What I did was I'd pull up a house and I'd save it and just watch how many bookings they got. And then I'd look at their history, at their feedback, and you can see how many reviews they had.
Okay.
Right. And so you can kind of do the math. And, at that time, like you could pick up a house back down there for $30,000. So I bought a $30,000 house. Well, I'll back up a little more. We were looking around in the area doing our research, and we were at Annie's Vietnam Cafe on Beechwood, I think is what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And they bring us our pho, and I'm just like, God, please just, we were praying. I was like, God, please just give us discernment on whether or not we should invest here, what we should do or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I looked up from prayer, and Gary Fisher is there. He just walked in the door while we were praying. And so,
and tell everybody,
Greg Fisher, the mayor, right?
Yeah.
Greg or Gary?
Greg. I think it was Greg.
Yeah. So he comes in, and I was like,
So Mayor of Louisville walks in.
Yeah, during the prayer. And so we're the only people there. And so I was like, Mayor Fisher, we're here because we're thinking of investing in this area. We want to buy an Airbnb. What do you think? He's like, oh, that's a great idea. I own a few businesses here. The city's gonna be putting a lot of money into this area, and the roads, making it look better, and this and that. I think it's a great idea. And so I start looking for a house, and I found one for $30,000.
Perfect.
And it put like 60 in it, fixing it up, which is kind of nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I've got the nicest house in the block and whatever. But back then there weren't any. Man, I can go back a little bit more. Like the stories could be, I could be here 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, don't be 2 hours.
Okay. But anyways,
Cliff Notes version.
At that time, there weren't any rules. Like when I got under contract, there weren't any rules. You could do what, you just had an Airbnb willy-nilly. And the moment I got out of that, I got out of the closing, they changed the rules where you had to register your house, and to be an Airbnb. So it took 6 months to get it up and ready. I guess that's not relevant, but anyway, we got that up and going, and we were one of the few houses in the area, operating as an Airbnb, and it did great. It bring like $250 on just a random weekend, a night.
Yeah.
So it did great. So we got another one 1,000 feet away because they had incorporated the 600-foot rule. So I found another one about 1,000 feet away, got it up and going. It was a little nicer, a little bit better. And because I had that, I got promotional emails from Airbnb. And one of them was like top 10 small markets in the U.S. where there's a demand. And Slade and Stanton, Kentucky Red River Gorge area were the 2 and 3.
Okay.
So, I'm like, I'm going to figure it out. I wasn't a hiker. I didn't go to Red River Gorge hardly ever. I think I'd been twice in my life.
Okay.
So I just drove around and figured it out, got familiar with the area, and ended up finding this great house with a pool, a log cabin with a pool and a 4-car detached garage.
Was it on the market at the time?
It was on the market. Yeah, and I went down there and got in a bidding war and won the bidding war.
What had that house previously? Had the previous owner used it as an Airbnb, or were they living?
I think they just did on the weekends, like they would, or maybe the owner before them, because it already had the digital lock on it.
Okay,
but it was someone's home at the time.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. So you're in. So you've got your first investment property in the gorge.
Yep.
You went out on a bidding war. You know it's a hot market, and you got that insight from Airbnb.
Yeah,
via email.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So now, fast forward. When was that? So you bought your first property in the gorge was in
2020, maybe
2020. Okay, so during COVID.
Yeah,
during COVID, you bought your first gorge property. Now you've picked up some acreage in the gorge area, and you're how many acres did you pick up?
Well, it was supposed to be like 29.16, but I lost half an acre to a squatter. So I might be the only person who's ever lost land to a squatter. But long story short, the survey.
Tell me what?
Yeah. So I lost a half an acre to a squatter. So I had a copy of a survey. The guy had gotten it surveyed. So I'm like, okay, good. It's for sure this amount of land. And so I didn't do my own survey. But, I found out that the surveyor was a heavy-set older gentleman, and this land is really hilly and stuff. And there's a fence that runs along the right side of it that is where it shouldn't be. Like it's, and so he just assumed that this particular line was the fence line. And actually the line was on the other side of the fence. So because that fence had been there so long, what was on the other side of the fence belonged to the guy who owned that land on the other side of the fence. So I lost a half acre, but it's not something. It would have cost me way more to get the survey.
Is the guy you say is squatter? So when I think of a squatter, I think of someone like living in a house that.
Yeah, he lived on that land.
Like in a tent?
No, his land was adjacent to my land.
Okay.
And so for 70 years or whatever it was, everyone was operating under the assumption that fence line was the property line, but actually it was,
and so by law,
yeah, it'd been so long that everyone was doing this.
Yeah.
It was just like it's his. It's like you could, and I talked to a few attorneys about it. It's like you could fight it, but it's going to cost this much.
Yeah, it's not worth fighting it over a half acre. So now so you've got. So 26 acres, 27?
28 and a half.
28
I started off with like 29 point.
Okay, so 20. So you got 28 acres in the gorge.
Yeah.
And so what's your plans for that 28 acres?
So I'm making it into an Airbnb neighborhood. Yeah.
An Airbnb neighborhood.
Yeah, a short-term rental cabin neighborhood.
So on this land right now, it's just trees and.
No, there's a cabin.
There's a cabin on there?
Yeah, on this 80% finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a cabin on.
No, I built it.
You built it?
Yeah.
So so did you have to run like utilities and water and.
Yeah.
So tell us about that process.
I know all that.
Yeah. How much?
There's a lot of stuff I didn't know. That I didn't know. I didn't even know I didn't know it. Like I didn't know it was a thing.
Yes. Okay.
So like.
So tell our listeners what those things are so they don't make the same mistake. How about that?
Yeah. So I knew the biggest struggle I knew going into it would be the water lines.
Okay.
So in Powell County, where Natural Bridge and Red River Gorge is, I think the water company is trying to actually slow development because they can't keep up. I think is what's going on there.
Okay.
So, like in your neighborhood, like where we are now, there's a main water line that runs out in the street, and then there's a water meter that you tapped into, and then your water line goes into your house off the main line.
Okay.
So where I am now, the main water line is at the street, at the main highway, the county road. And then I've made 2 roads coming off the county road. And, when I was under contract, I was thinking I'll just put a 2-inch water line or a 3-inch water line, whatever I need, and tap off of that and run a little water line to each house and have a meter, in front of the house, 20 feet or whatever it was. I found out during the process, while I was under contract, that you can't do that. You had to run them. You have to have the water meter at the county road and run the water lines individually to each house. And so that's a huge ordeal, because you have like this tiny little 3/4 inch long, each big water line going this huge distance. So yeah, like that's the big puzzle piece, right? So that's,
So you bought the land and you've taken and you've made 2 roads off of the main highway.
right.
And you're planning to build how many homes on this 28 acres?
That's numbers changing. Right now I have 3 water lines in the ground. You can get the health department or whoever's in charge of telling you what you can and can't do with water.
Okay.
It says they have to be 10 inches apart. Like you can't just have like 20 water lines like on top of each other in a trench. Like they have to be 10 inches or 11 inches apart.
So pretty much you've got to trench every water line individually?
Well, I have a good buddy down there named Speedy.
Speedy? Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
who's
like
awesome.
Awesome guy.
He's yeah.
He's a
Speedy
real deal.
and Chris. Yeah, they have Chris has some equipment and Speedy operates equipment, and they have a excavator with a 33-inch bucket on it. Okay. So Speedy made a trench up the left side of my first road, and there's 3 water lines and 3 meters in that trench, and they're getting inspected today actually.
Okay.
The first one is that I can get 3 water lines in a trench basically. So
okay.
yeah. So
all right. So now you've got your first property going. Now is this, when I think of a neighborhood, I think like houses like next door to one another that are fairly close together. Is that the vibe, or are you still kind of out is there like trees and woods? And
yeah, it's very much woods. There's probably 3 acres of field, and the rest is woods. So like the first one, like the way my land lays, like the further you go back, the higher up you are. Like at the very, very back, like there are views, like you can see, I don't know if you far away, like as far as you can see, like just far. So
that would be, in my mind, that's what people want, right?
Yeah.
So, so the plan is to get homes built
way the hell up there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Way back there. All right. So you've got your first one going, but you're not real sure like how many you're going to be able to build.
Well, no, I'm not, honestly, no, because like this is like I'm telling you, I'm learning as I go.
Learning as you go.
Speedy and Chris, they have experience in the coal mining industry. They are coal miners.
Okay.
And Speedy and I've never been to a coal miner. But I think that their experience comes from they would put in roads and did stuff with coal mines to avoid water runoff.
Okay.
So like they're familiar with building roads. Like I just got lucky that I met these guys, and I can like that's another faith thing how they came into my life. But anyways, my plat map that I had recorded, I got a plat map recorded almost immediately of the neighborhood and how it lays out. It took me forever to find an engineer to do that. But it's like a 31-year-old guy came out and he went around my land. I told him I own it at least an acre. I wanted, and I put like when Megan and I went out there, I took like all the bright colored t-shirts and my cycling gear and my hunting gear that was fluorescent orange. And I just set it in trees where I thought would be a good place to build a house. And me and Megan were like just throwing clothes into the trees, like trying to figure out like how many lots do we have, how many places to build houses and so on. So I've got a t-shirt up at the top of this hill where the land had been logged and there's a logging road going up the left side of the property line. And, this t-shirt out here to the right. And so I was like, incorporate the t-shirts and all that into the lands and so on. And so that, like my original plat has like you put them on there for me, all the clothes. But Speedy was like, it's going to be it's such a steep logging road that I'm like a 2-wheel drive muscle car, like a Mustang or a Camaro or something like that would not make it. I think the tires would just spin.
Okay.
A Camry or something like that might make it. But 4-wheel drive would be optimal, especially if it's raining or whatever. So, Speedy's like, we're going to fix this. Like we're going to fix it. I'm going to move the road a little bit. And he's got this thick Appalachian accent. It's kind of hard to understand sometimes, but he's like, I'm just going to put it over here just a little bit. I'm just going to move your road. So Speedy, like he takes this road that's going straight up like this and he makes it go like this and around. And he created like 2 like optimal lots when he did this. Like he just totally blessed me by doing this. But he also
how'd you meet Speedy and Chris?
So that's a God thing. Like in my neighborhood here in Louisville in Springhurst, I think there are 5 of us that own houses down there now. Like I've been selling my friends houses in Red River Gorge, and we're all neighbors in Springhurst, and we're also neighbors down at Red River Gorge.
Okay.
So I happened to be down there one day, and I'm the only one from the neighborhood in the second neighborhood, Red River Gorge area. And my buddy's house, I come up on my buddy's house, and this truck full of logs had spilled into his driveway.
Okay.
Like it was like the most like pinpoint accuracy spill ever. Like 80% of the logs like are in his driveway. It was like knocked over his mailbox and his gate and all this stuff. So I'm there, like, dealing with the police on his behalf, talking to the guy who owns the logging truck, all this. And the guy who owned the logging truck was Chris, who owns all this equipment. And so for years, I'd been driving by this piece of land with this red gate. I was like, man, I'd love to have that piece of land. I'd love to own it. It just lays so perfectly. So I have the habit of when I meet someone new to find them on Facebook and add them. So they'll come up in my feed and I'll remember their face. Next time I see them, I can remember their name.
Okay.
So I find him on Facebook and he's got his granddaughter sitting on that gate. He's the guy, I'm in my head like, this is the guy who owns the land I want. He's the guy who spilled this, this log into my buddy's. Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
So, at that point, I think like a month or 2 later, Megan and I came to the conclusion that we needed to move all of our Airbnb business from Louisville to the Red River Gorge.
Okay.
There's like a good Derby weekend here is our best weekend, obviously. And these 2-bed, 1-bath houses, like that's like we were getting like 1 week, just random week in July was just as good as Derby here. Yeah. So we're like, let's just move it all here. And then, so we're starting to hire painters to freshen up those 2. And then Chris posts on Facebook, I've got 30 acres for sale, this and that. The same day we decide this, I'm like, here it is. This is what we're supposed to do. So we ended up, that land that I was thinking of that's in the picture, it wasn't the actual land. It was another piece of land a little farther down the road. He was leasing that for his cattle.
Okay.
But it was this piece of land that I ended up buying.
You
Chris
ended up buying
had
from Chris. Okay.
Yeah, so I get it off market because he did not have any pictures up or any of the details that it's this. Just I'm wanting this amount per acre and it's this many acres. So I ended up buying it off him.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. What time is it? 11:37.
Do we stop?
No, we'll keep going for a few more minutes. All right. So now you've got the properties. You've decided to transition your Airbnb business from Louisville to the Gorge because, every weekend in the Gorge is like Derby and
not every weekend, but some of the summer weekends, because our house has a pool. Yeah, and it's one of the few that have a pool, so it does well.
Okay,
it does well.
So you've got these lots. Your plans to hang on to them and just build a bunch of Airbnbs, or you gonna sell them? You gonna do?
I'm not gonna sell the lots. I don't think I'm gonna sell the lots. If I sell anything, well, part of that we were talking about the infrastructure. So one of the things is that the electrical company will run overhead lines for you, 1,000 feet overhead lines for free.
Okay.
So I have I told the electric company I have 3 different phases, and so each phase I can get 1,000 feet. So 1,000 feet is phase 1. I'm at 750 feet in my first phase. I have another 250 feet that I can go, and then I can start over with phase 2 and go another 1,000 feet.
So are you talking about you'll be able to go 1,000 feet in and then another 1,000 feet in, like pick up from where your first phase went?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know that 2,000 feet basically will get me to the end. So if the piece of property changes hands, then I can start my 1,000 feet over. So I might have to sell one or pay the electrical company an extraordinary amount of money to get the free, line.
Okay. Interesting. That's interesting. Interesting strategy.
And I don't know that that's the case with every electrical company, but that's the case with this one.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna transition completely here, and I wanna ask you, because again, like I mentioned in the intro, you've always been a very good supporter of my business, and you've been great at sending us referrals, and one of the target demographics of folks that we like to help are real estate professionals, and from a tax strategy, tax planning perspective. So you've been working with Terry for how many years now?
Is it 9 or 8?
I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But tell us about like your experience as a realtor and why, as far as working with Terry, and why you believe it's a good idea to have someone like Terry in your corner that's looking out for your best interest and helping you reduce your taxes each year.
Well, realtors and accountants are totally built way different. I think I'm built very similar from a personality standpoint. I'm a little mild actually for a realtor as far as personality, but most realtors aren't, I don't think, at least, like these great accountants. Like they don't know what they're doing. Like
most realtors I've met would fit that profile. Yeah.
So,
they're focused. Most realtors I've met are focused. They're entrepreneurial minded.
Right.
They're focused on building their business, growing their business in new ways to really market themselves.
Right.
And they're almost kind of like annoyed by having to even deal with the financial.
Yes. Yeah.
About having to even deal with the financial side.
Yeah, I remember in college being so frustrated that I was in a marketing degree with emphasis on sales, and they made me take accounting classes. Like these aren't the same people. Like no one is going to be in sales and doing their own
accounting.
Yeah, you're going to be hiring that out. Like it's not the same guy.
Yeah,
no one has both of those skill sets.
Yeah,
maybe you do actually. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that I do. I mean, like I said, I like to understand the numbers and the financials behind everything, but as far as the the day-to-day and month-to-month execution of that, I don't want to be in those trenches.
Right. And so I do know about write-offs, and she's a great sounding board, but the broad answer to your question is you can just blindly trust her. Like you don't you can just totally just let that go and not have to worry about it, and not have to worry about what's going on, what she's doing, because she's on top of it. So much so that, you're like, you have to set a time apart to make sure you're getting what she needs. Like, she's asking, she wants my loan details on those 2 cabins I'm building.
Okay.
So she wants those paperwork. And then I got to get it from the bank because I had it and now I don't. It's like, I don't know where it is.
Well, she's a unique breed in that, she's an accountant or CPA that is always, she's always looking out for opportunities and ways to save her clients money.
Right.
And that is, you wouldn't think that would be a unique quality in a CPA or an accountant, but it really is. A lot of CPAs and accountants, they just want you to bring them your stuff, and then they plug the numbers in, and there's not a lot of back and forth. There's not a lot of conversation that goes on throughout the year. It's a one-time-a-year transaction for a lot of CPAs and a lot of accountants. Yeah. And really, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur and as someone that, that you've got your own business, you're building homes, you've got Airbnbs, you've got a lot of different things going on, which also translates into a lot of opportunities for ways that you can reduce your tax liability.
Right.
And so... And the thing that I love about Terry and the reason we get along so well is because she does what she says she's going to do. And when you actually call her, she answers the phone.
Yeah.
She answers the phone, or if she doesn't answer the phone, she's very quick to follow up with you.
Right.
Where a lot of accountants that I've met are socially awkward, or they want to sit behind a desk and hide behind a computer screen and not have a lot of interaction with you. And that's not really the type of CPA or accountant you want in your corner. So, well, I appreciate the fact that you've had a great experience with her. You've worked with her a number of years, and it speaks very highly of your confidence in her because of all the business you've referred us over the years. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And then another crazy business I have, Tradeline Services.
Right.
So Tradeline Services is, the business that we have that we help people build credit.
Right.
And the way that we accomplish that is through allowing folks like you that have good trade lines, that have exceptional payment history and are in good standing. There's a population, a segment of people out there that don't have close family or friends that can add them to their trade lines to help them boost their credit profile. But you allow people to piggyback, if you will, off of your good credit standing. And as a result of that, you get paid to do it. So speak a little bit just about your experience with Tradeline Services, because I know a lot of people are like, some of the most common questions I get are, well, Jason, are they going to start like using my credit card, or, have you had any experience with like, is there been any like awkward experiences as a result of?
I don't know that it's been awkward. The first 2 or 3 are a little bit nerve wracking. Your first 2 or 3 orders, I remember fumbling on the phone with the bank and all this stuff, but, it's awkward that I have a huge stack of credit cards on my desk with other people's names on them.
You can shred those, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't. But no, I mean, it's another thing for, it's the ROI on your time is huge. Yeah. It's 4 or 5 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes
on the front end, 4 or 5 minutes on the back end.
And it's, so the ROI on your time is great. And it's another thing you just forget about. Like doing business with Terry, it's just like you just forget about it. I'm not worried about her getting my things, or she's already like, I just don't worry about either of those things. It's just something that doing that type of business, being in business with something like that, where it's not it's not something you do well, is the best type of business is, it's just in the background. You never even think about it.
That's what I tell cardholders. It's like, I get the question a lot. Well, Jason, how much money can I realistically make doing trade lines with your company? And what I tell people is, on average, for every card you put in inventory with us, you could realistically generate somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 a year. So you're not getting rich on trade lines, but it's like you said, your ROI on your time is through the roof, because you're getting paid hundreds of dollars to spend 5 minutes adding someone as an authorized user to your account.
Right.
And, and then you have to ultimately end up removing them down the road. But your time investment is maybe total transaction times like 10 minutes, maybe tops.
Yeah.
And you're making hundreds of dollars depending on, how much we can sell your trade line for. But
like $75 a minute or so.
Yeah.
Is that what that's about the math?
Yeah. I mean, it could be. It could be for sure. I mean, if it takes you 10 minutes, $750 in a commission would be a little high, but
Yeah, but it's not always 10 minutes. I think on the front end, it takes me 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
I think it takes me 6 minutes, to be honest.
Really?
I think it's 6 minutes is how much it takes
well,
me.
if that's the case, then you're probably about right. $75 a minute. But, so the other thing I was going to say, with regards to, the trade line business is, we've been talking about real estate. We've been talking about Airbnbs, and
Sure.
I always tell people that like the trade line business is a lot like, I guess it's not necessarily a short-term rental, but maybe what do we call it? Midterm? Like it's not long-term. It's not short-term. It's more of a midterm. What do we call that in the real estate business?
Well, there is a such thing as midterm rental, but it's passive income.
Yeah, it's passive income, but it's a 3 to 4 month term.
Sure,
Generally, right?
From a time standpoint, because you have the tenants for 3 months. It's a midterm. It's like travel nurses.
It's like having a travel nurses. It's a midterm rental that basically it's generating income for you.
Right.
So I tell people like every trade line, every credit card that you have is like owning a piece of real estate, because there
Yeah.
are people out there that are willing to pay you
Yeah.
to piggyback off of your good credit standing on that trade line. So, and the beautiful thing about a trade line versus a piece of real estate is you don't have property taxes, you don't have insurance, you don't have any overhead. It's just pure profit.
Yeah.
So I always equate that, I always use that analogy as far as like, especially when I pull out my wallet and I've got, a stack this thick of credit cards in my wallet. And I'm like, why do you have so many freaking credit cards?
Right.
Well, it's because every credit card that I have in my wallet, I look at as a potential income generator, a piece of real estate. So, well, I appreciate you taking time to tell us about Speedy and Chris and all the great things. I love where your heart's at. I love your entrepreneurial spirit. I'm excited for you, man, to see where this Red River Gorge project goes. And whenever you need to sell that one lot, make sure you let me know.
There'll be a house in there.
Let me know. Let me know the lot. Well, I'll buy the lot and the house. Just let me know when you're ready to get rid of one of those. I'd like to have a property down there as well. So, but thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.